What if I told you the money in your pocket isn't fully controlled by your country? That behind global trade, oil prices, and inflation, there's one currency pulling the strings, and escaping it could collapse entire economies overnight. Look at Pakistan, Argentina, Turkey, different countries, same crisis. Currencies fall, debt rises, inflation explodes. This isn't coincidence, it's a pattern repeating. To understand this pattern, we go back to 1944. A world destroyed by war, economies shattered, currencies broken. At Bretton Woods, 44 nations made a bold decision, tie their currencies to the US dollar, and rebuild the world economy around it. The dollar was backed by gold, $35 per ounce. It wasn't just paper, it represented real value. The United States held over 70% of global gold reserves. It became the financial backbone of the world. As global trade restarted, countries began using dollars for transactions. Instead of exchanging currencies, they relied on one standard, the US dollar. Then came oil, the most important resource in the world. Through agreements with oil-producing nations, oil was priced only in dollars. This created what we now call the petrodollar system. Because of this, every country needed dollars, not just for trade, but for survival. Central banks began holding massive dollar reserves. Even today, around 58% of global reserves are still in USD. This gave the United States a unique advantage. While other countries had to earn dollars through exports, the US could simply print them. But the system had a flaw. In 1971, facing economic pressure, President Nixon made a shocking move. He ended the dollar's convertibility into gold. The dollar was no longer backed by anything physical. No gold, no guarantee. And yet, the world continued using it. Why? Because by then, the system was too big to replace. Trade, banking, and global finance were already deeply connected to the dollar. Trust replaced gold. Now here's where the trap begins. When the US prints more money, it doesn't just affect America. It increases global liquidity and often leads to worldwide inflation. Countries that borrow in dollars face a dangerous risk. If their currency weakens against the dollar, their debt becomes more expensive instantly. Take Pakistan as an example. With external debt exceeding $125 billion, even a small drop in the rupee increases repayment pressure massively. Argentina shows an extreme version of this cycle. In 2023, inflation crossed 200%, wiping out savings and destroying purchasing power. Sri Lanka faced a similar crisis in 2022. A shortage of dollars meant they couldn't import fuel or essentials, leading to economic collapse and protest. Many countries have tried to escape the system. Some turned to gold, others to China's yuan, and some explored cryptocurrencies. But none have fully replaced the dollar. Even powerful groups like BRICS are discussing alternatives. But building a new global currency requires one thing above all: trust. And that takes decades. Today's financial system is deeply interconnected. Banks, loans, trade agreements, everything is built around the dollar. Removing it would shake the entire system. During COVID-19, the US printed trillions of dollars to stabilize its economy. This flooded global markets with liquidity. By 2022, inflation surged worldwide. From food to fuel, prices rose across continents, showing how deeply connected economies have become. At the same time, the dollar strengthened, and as it rose, weaker currencies fell, making imports more expensive for developing countries. This creates a repeating cycle. Countries borrow in dollars, their currency weakens, debt increases, and crisis begins again. So now the real question isn't just economic. Is this system flawed by accident, or is it functioning exactly as designed? First, the dollar isn't just a currency. It's a tool of global influence that shapes trade, policy, and power. Second, dependence on a single currency creates vulnerability, especially for countries with weaker economies. Third, the world may eventually shift away from the dollar, but any transition will be slow and potentially chaotic. When the world depends on one currency, any crack becomes a global shock. So ask yourself, is your economy failing, or is the system tightening its grip?